All right, here we go. Orioles, one more chance at this thing. One more chance. 20-36. We got 17 games, is what I did. We got 17 games until we play the Yankees. These next 17 games are relatively soft. I thought we were potentially going to go on a run last weekend, win 3 out of 4 in Boston, and then beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3. Didn't quite get there. Cowser and Westberg are coming back. Eflin pitched well yesterday. If there's one more chance, I think we got one more chance. If there's one more chance, we got it right here for the next 17 games. Optimistically, maybe feverishly optimistic. I'm not sure, but 14 out of 17 puts us 5 games under 500 going to New York with renewed optimism. That's what I'm hoping for. So, with that being said, let's talk Knicks Pacers because Orioles are playing the White Sox today and tomorrow, and if we can win both of those games, I'll hop on here Monday and get excited about the West Coast road trip. So, all right, Knicks Pacers though. Game 6 tonight. Two things I'm looking at. First thing is the over for the Pacers points. I feel really confident about that. The Pacers lost. They really lost every time they lose, it feels like it's because they're not playing fast enough. Their half court offense is below average in the NBA, but when they're running, it's they almost feel unstoppable at times. They weren't able to get going against the Knicks in Game 5. I suspect they'll be able to get going in Game 6. I thought they were going to be tight in Game 4, and they came out and basically made every shot en route to putting up 130 points. I'm not sure they quite get that hot, but I do think that the speed that they're going to play with is going to push the total over for them. So I like the over for them. And then the second thing I'm looking at is, it's hard to message, when I'm doing live betting. But if you're interested in live betting, the best live bets that I think you can get in this action would be to take the Pacers if the Knicks get the lead. So I have a feeling the Knicks are going to play pretty well. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on. I'm just like going back and forth on this game, and I really want to see it play out, especially the first half. So I'm most likely just going to go with the over for the first half, over for the game, over for the Pacers points. And I don't know if the Knicks have the energy. They've used the bench these past couple of games, and it's made me question, re-question the series because I had the Pacers going into the series for the main reason that the Knicks would run out of gas by Game 6, and here we are, Game 6, and now I don't know if they're going to run out of gas. I'm looking at looking at the box score the past couple of games. They made the switch with Hart and Robinson, so they have a bigger lineup to start. And Hart can play a gazillion minutes if they need him. They've really reserved him relative to how he's typically used. And I just have a feeling Shamet and McBride and Wright, the three guys that the Knicks have leaned on here to get them back in the series. Wouldn't be shocked if they had big games tonight. So I'm probably just going to go with the over. I don't know if the Knicks can pull it out. Halliburton is amazing to watch. But one thing that I just wanted to point out, and then we'll talk about the Thunder for a second, but Halliburton and Brunson and these elite stars doing it back-to-back games, game in and game out, game in and game out, series in and series out is what separates. That's how you start to figure out who's better. Just playing, one game or even one series or going throughout the regular season, it's just different. The endurance, the shape you have to be in, and Halliburton and the Pacers have been here all year. They've played the same way. Feels like the Knicks are trying to catch up at the last minute. I don't know if they'll have enough gas here to pull it off. The Thunder, meanwhile, and probably the best thing I've done, or the best thing that I could probably teach from a sports betting perspective, is be willing to change your mind when you get the information, especially in a series, especially, when it's right in front of your face, because it doesn't always mean you're going to be right to change your mind. But if your gut, if you just want to be right, and it feels like that's one of the things I grew up here, this NBA playoffs, because the Thunder, I didn't want to bet them at all. I kept fading them. Even when I was doing the podcast with Jack in football season, I was like, I just don't believe in the Thunder. I don't believe in the Thunder. And then I get the matchup with the Nuggets. They win that Game 7. It's like, all right, that showed me a little something. And then I really like the Timberwolves. I switched my mind with them against the Lakers and against the Warriors. Finally, it was like, yeah, Timberwolves are just better. They're going to win both those series. And then I thought Minnesota would beat the Thunder. Then when you watch Game 5 in Minnesota, it was like, excuse me, when you watch Game 4 in Minnesota and the way the Thunder won that game, and you just that's why I was so confident it was going to be a blowout Game 5 because Minnesota they just took the life out of them. It was everything went right for Minnesota in Game 4 except their two best players, and that's the difference. Is Edwards still doesn't have the stamina, the maturity. I mean, he is only 23, but he just doesn't have it to get over the hump. He didn't have it last year. He didn't have it this year. And the Thunder, what they did in Game 5 by just blitzing them and stealing the ball nonstop, blowing them out in a game where you're like, is this game over? It was 26-9 at the end of the first quarter, and Minnesota was up 3-0. So it was remarkable. I'm excited to watch the Pacers Knicks tonight, but I don't see any world where the Thunder don't win the whole thing. And I went from I don't believe, I don't believe, I don't believe to I would put anything on the Thunder to win to win the championship at this point because I don't see any team that played the defense at the way they've played over the past. I don't even know how many years. I can't think of a defense that has been this ferocious, this aggressive, the trapping, the unselfishness. They really are a perfect team. They're even more perfect than the Celtics. The Celtics were perfect for 3-point shooting. This team's unbelievable. So I'm going to roll with the Thunder tonight. I'll take the over with the Knicks Pacers. And I want to finish up here on, one quick thing on the Orioles. Then I want to finish up on something. But it's decision time as Calzer and Westberg are ready to come back, most likely here for the road trip. So we got 2 more days. And then Calzer and Westberg rejoin the team. Decisions have to be made. I was the biggest Kerstead fan last year. He's the one where we have to decide what we're going to do here. I hope they just let him stay up and keep hitting because if you give him the Gunner treatment and you give him the Jackson treatment, just let him work through it. I hope the Orioles get back on track. I really do. I don't want to bury Kerstead. We'll see what decisions Elias makes. But all right, and what I want to finish on, I'll put the link to the story here after I finish. But a couple months ago with the Jonte Porter scandal, the NBA player that bet on himself, the Raptors player who was the brother or who is the brother of Michael Porter Jr., the guy that was considered the mastermind, Shane Hennon, was arrested at a Vegas airport, headed to Colombia right around the Super Bowl. Anyway, the last article that came out, all this stuff came out at the end of February. Then it was radio. You couldn't find anything. And then a Canadian newspaper magazine just published, or they're going to publish, I can't remember if it already came out or it's about to come out. But anyway, I read it this morning. I think it's like an actual magazine, but this one might have leaked this particular story from the magazine. Anyway, I finished reading it yesterday. It's got some more details. It still hasn't gotten to, it's got basically some more details on Jonte Porter and how he grew up. Very interesting. And there's some things to read in there. And they list the other co-conspirators, but they still haven't quite gotten to any other players yet or exactly what's happened with Shane. But one of the things that I wanted to point out in there that I thought was interesting, in case you don't feel like reading the whole thing, is what happens when your addiction gets out of control. You go from having a really good, solid scheme. Maybe you're successful and you're able to pull off whatever you're pulling off here, but the addiction will always get you. The greed will always get you. And these guys were getting away with a lot. They were, it was a really sophisticated scheme that they had going. And the reason that they got caught is there's 4 guys, they're basically at a diner, Ruby's Diner, somewhere in Pennsylvania, right before the March game where Jonte Porter, the infamous game that set off the flags. And these knuckleheads, one of them did a parlay where he ended up winning $1.2 million. I think he wagered $40,000 or might not have even been that much, but he won $1.2 million on a parlay that involved just Jonte Porter stats. Like literally the under on his blocks, steals, rebounds, points, assists, because they need why they needed the money that much right then and there, what it all led to. You can read the article and dive more into it and guess for yourself. But apparently the addiction got way out of control and the greed got out of control because those bets that gets flagged. You can sneak in something. You can sneak in this. You might be able to get away with. I don't know what you can get away with these days on how they can monitor things for trying to fix the games. I would believe anything at this point because I can't believe how much gambling is prevalent over the past few years and how many different apps you can use and different companies. So at this point, any fixing scandal, I don't know. I used to just dismiss those things out of hand. At this point, with the college kids and how they have access and what you can bet on and all the props, who knows? But anyway, they're able to make money for a considerable amount of time, but the desperation gets to them. And of course, as soon as that happens, that sets off the alarms. So the bets are flagged. They never get their money. The money's frozen. And 6 weeks later, they're all arrested. So it all comes crashing down. It was pretty dramatic to read. It took about 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I'm still waiting for more details if we ever get them. But man, that guy Shane was hooked up with a lot of the college games that were taken off the board that I mentioned in that pod. If you've been following some of this stuff, so they've done a great job of the NBA and professional sports of keeping this under wraps, trying to make it a Jonte Porter thing in this particular case. So anyway, all right, have a good day, guys. I'm rolling with the over tonight. Hopefully the Orioles give us something good to think about here as we move forward. And cool. If you need anything, let me know. Talk to you guys on Monday.